Today we will be discussing Chapter 9, Rappelling. Your Rope Rescue Level 1 objectives for Chapter 9 are as followed. Explain the role of rappelling in high-angle rescue. Discuss the importance of control in rappelling. Explain how rappelling works. Identify and describe rappels using body friction. Identify and describe mechanical rappel devices, and explain how to perform the proper rappel stance. In addition, you will need to be able to describe emergency descent subsystems, identify and describe self-belay techniques, describe how to protect the rappel rope below you, describe how to extricate jammed rappel devices, and describe how to prevent a rappel off the end of a rope. Rappelling is the controlled descent of a rope using the friction of the rope through a descender as the means of control. Rappelling is the act or method of moving down a steep incline or past an overhang. Rappelling is a necessary skill for operating safely in the vertical environment. Learning safe, controlled rappelling skills is a step toward developing vertical competency. It is essential to maintain control when rappelling. Some examples of a competent person rappelling include being able to control your descent with little physical effort by having good technique. You should also rappel in a controlled manner so that the rope is not damaged by heat buildup. Traveling fast isn't always the best choice. Usually you're out of control when you're descending quickly. You also need to avoid damaging your anchors by shock loading them. It is important to take your time in setting up your descent device and loading it correctly. You will also need to take the time when making the transition over the edge. A competent person will also be able to stop their descent and tie off and be able to operate hands-free. You will find out in this class how important it is to be able to use both of your hands and legs and trusting the system you build. The body rappel is also known as the Dulfersitz rappel. Body rappelling uses friction from the rope and around the body to slow the descent. It creates heat and can cause the body some discomfort. The rope could also come unwrapped from the rappeller's leg, causing a loss of control or injuries. If you choose to select the body rappel, you need to train on low angle slopes and become proficient before moving on to steep slope. The rappel should only be used in an emergency when no hardware is available. The arm rappel is used for short distances on low angle slopes. The friction and rate of descent are controlled by varying hand grips. The figure 8 is a type of descent control device. The larger ring on the figure 8 may be rounded or squared off. It also creates friction on the rope to help control your descent. The smaller ring attaches to the seat harness with a carabiner or a screw length. You can run into some problems with girth hitching the figure 8 descender. Accidental girth hitching the figure 8 tends to occur under two circumstances. It happens when the rappeller attempts to ease over a difficult edge or ledge and the edge catches the wrap of rope on the bottom of the figure 8, or when the rappeller allows momentary slack in the rope. Girth hitching the figure 8 immediately stops the rappel and prevents the rappeller from descending further. Movement can begin again only when the rappeller can remove his or her weight from the girth hitch long enough to slide it back over the large ring. The best solution to the problem of a girth hitch on a figure 8 is prevention. A better choice is to use a figure 8 descender with ears. These devices are also known as a Rescue 8 descender. Rappelling with a figure 8 with ears involves preparation, attaching the figure 8, starting the rappel, locking off and unlocking. It must be practiced first on level ground, then on a slope, and finally on a vertical face. A top belay must be used when on a steep or vertical face. Remember that your belay isn't used to control the rate of your descent, nor should it share the load when the rappeller is in a controlled descent. To learn proper control of a rappel device, you must learn to control your weight, with no control coming from the belayer. Friction can be easily increased with the figure 8 with ears descender, which means you have better control of the descent. Since the figure 8 with ears is larger, they have a large surface area for creating friction. Also, the ears helps contour the rope and hold it into place. If you've decided to gain more friction, this must be done before the descender is attached to the seat harness. Otherwise, this is no longer possible once the repeller is on the rope. Gaining extra friction when you are rappelling might be essential. Some techniques that can be used to create additional control are: increase the friction with the body by bringing the rope slightly against the thigh, or use a spare carabiner to gain extra friction. When most people are learning to rappel, they feel uncomfortable backing over a sharp edge while standing. However, this is the most effective stance for rappelling. Some rappellers may try to work their way over the edge by rolling over it on their side or stomach. This type of maneuver should be avoided, if possible. The preferred stance is on both feet, or as an alternative, on both knees. Usually, the most difficult part of the rappel is getting over the edge. However, getting over the edge of a wall or cliff frequently presents a physical challenge as well. Several techniques can help you get started over the edge. Examples would be the butt thrust and the knees over the edge. It is important to clear the descender over the edge, otherwise the descender may become jammed. When you are backing over the edge in a rappel, always observe the position of the descender and make sure it is going to clear the edge. We will show you in class how to measure out the distance needed to clear the descender. Let's discuss for a moment the angle and effect on the rope when trying to get out over an edge. As you can see in this illustration, the most difficult edge to get over is one at a horizontal angle in which the anchor is level with or lower than the repeller. And the least difficult is rappelling with a vertical angle in which the anchor is above the repeller. An undercut edge is one that is overhung so far back that your legs cannot reach the wall as you start to rappel over the edge. Rappelling from an undercut edge is similar to rappelling from a helicopter skid. It involves keeping your feet on the edge while lowering the rest of your body until your head is well below your feet and the edge of the overhang. Only after you are certain that the rappel device and your torso are far enough below the edge to clear it do you step off the edge. The brake bar rack is another controlled descent device. The brake bar rack has numerous advantages as well as disadvantages. Some of the advantages are that it offers greater friction and therefore greater control. It allows the friction level to be changed after the rappel has begun, and longer drops can be rappelled more comfortably than with most other descenders. Some disadvantages are that the brake bar rack can be somewhat more complex, so it takes a bit longer to attach the rope. It is somewhat bulkier and heavier than other descenders, and it can be incorrectly loaded. Emergency situations may arise in which the rappel is necessary, but the person has no descender. You will have to have a plan A, B, and C. Some possible solutions may be the body rappel, a carabiner wrap rappel, or the Munner hitch rappel. Self-belay techniques may be used when belaying of a repeller by another person is not possible or practical. Most are based on the use of some type of rope grab device on the main rappel line above the descender. The regulations of the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration require that in the workplace environment a secondary safety system is used. A Prusik safety involves using a Prusik hitch on the rope. The end of the Prusik loop is connected to the rappeller's harness. Should the rappeller's descent run out of control, the Prusik knot can be tightened on the main rope to stop the fall. The repeller must avoid certain pitfalls or the safety may not work at all. For example, in a panic, the falling repeller may grab for the Prusik knot itself. This action opens the knot and results in a free fall. Some precautions can help the repeller use the Prusik safety as intended. Practice using the Prusik safety at a safe height so that your emergency action becomes automatic. Make sure the Prusik is tight enough and properly dressed so that it will catch when needed. Place the Prusik safety under the Rappel device. The Prusik safety belay may be useful in sport or emergency situation when no other safety is available. However, it does not meet requirements for proper fall protection on the main Rappel line or on a secondary lifeline when used in commercial use. In most cases, the Rappel rope is simply dropped down the vertical face where the repeller is about to travel. However, under certain circumstances, this may not be desirable. In such cases, it may be desirable for the repeller to keep the rope with him or her. One way to keep the rope with the repeller is to attach the rope bag to the repeller. The bag can be attached in a number of ways. Rappel devices are notorious for snagging loose material and becoming jammed. The repeller may become stranded and may require a rescue. Possible problems include t-shirts and other loose clothing, hair and body parts like loose flesh on an underarm. The best solution to this problem is prevention. Tuck in shirt tails and other loose clothing, keep hair trimmed or tied back and tucked into a helmet, and keep flabby body part sections like underarms and stomachs away from the Rappel device. Avoid using a knife or sharp objects to extricate yourself from a jammed Rappel device. It is very difficult to use a knife in such situations without damaging the rope or cutting it completely. It is also difficult to use a knife to remove hair jammed in a descender without inflicting a scalp wound. One way out of such a situation is to take your weight off the descender by using an ascender or Prusik hitch above the descender. You may face the danger of rappelling off the end of a rope. This can occur when you cannot see the bottom of the drop before you begin the rappel. One form of insurance against rappelling off the end of the rope is to use a stopper knot. This gives you something to stand in while you figure out what to do next. This concludes Chapter 9, Rappelling. Please take a moment and read the following slides in summary. Thank you.